What's up? What's up? It's a beautiful Sunday. We're going to continue the series of going back and getting different perspectives on some of the old things that we've discussed, all right? So the title of today's lecture or discussion is The Alchemy of I Am, Tending the Garden of Divine Identity. This is one of my favorite ones. What's up? What's up? Right? This is one of my favorite ones. So The Alchemy of I Am, Tending the Garden of Divine Identity. Let me make sure I'm live and we'll get started. All right, and while I'm hitting this live button, because I know I forgot on Instagram, my bad, y'all, forgot about y'all yesterday. Doesn't mean you're not important, all right, just forgot. All right, so before we start, I want to make a statement, okay? Wealth, love, gifts, abundance, whatever you want to call things, right? These things are not earned or deserved through work. They're claimed through identity and consciousness, all right? And like always, right, ignore the comments, right? You're here to get this knowledge, improve your life, all right? So it's not that we have to strive or work to become more worthy, to become more whole, more holy, right? You are already those things by birthright, by absolute birthright, okay? It is actually getting into the understanding and embodying that I am already that I am. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Just the alchemy of I am. We're going to talk about what it means to say I am, and we're going to continue down that path. So the opening question is, how often do I use the Lord's name in vain? Not in profanity, but in identity. Not in profanity, but identity, all right? So each time I say I am, I invoke the name God gave to Moses in the burning bush. I am that I am. What's up? What's up? And yet, how carelessly do I speak it? When I call myself broken, unworthy, behind, or not enough, do I realize I've just spoken those words over the image of God in me? How often do I place that sacred name on someone else with judgment, gossip, or labels that strip them of their divinity? We think using God's name in vain is about cursing, but the deeper violation is when we curse ourselves and others through misaligned identity. Every I am is a seed and God is listening. So the question is, what garden are my words growing? Remember, when we're talking about identity, I am, we're not simply talking about it from a me perspective. Remember, the kingdom is within you. So we are talking about it from the perspective of I am that I am. That person out there is a reflection of me. This circumstance is an outpicturing of me. So it's never that I'm cursing somebody else. It's never that I'm talking shit about somebody else. I'm always speaking about myself. And as we continue to speak down on others, speak down on ourselves, we continue to attract the same things into our life. All right? So this is going to be on divine identity, sacred thought, and inner blooming. So the first verse, right, is Exodus 3:14. Okay? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. What is the importance of this? The importance of this is that when God revealed his name, he didn't give a straight name. He didn't say, I'm Jehovah. I am the God of all gods. He gave you a blank check. He said, I am that I am. I am whatever you declare me to be. I am the power within you, which is very meaningful in the story of Moses. Because remember, Moses came to God completely unprepared. Moses had a stutter, right? He was already the prince of Egypt, right? He was originally this Israelite, and he was shipped down to have a better life. He became the prince of Egypt. So he was the oppressor of his own people, you could say, right? He resisted this calling, right? But it was when God gave him the staff, which represents the enlightenment. We know the staff represents your spine, right? And called Moses into a greater version of himself. The entire story of the Israelites fleeing Egypt, what is it actually about? This is a story of manifestation. What does the promised land represent? It represents the desires of your mind. What does Egypt represent? The old state of being. What does the wilderness represent? That void where you want to turn back. Remember, even though God sent Moses within Egypt, and Moses did all of these miracles, right? Went as far as killing the firstborn sons. This was really a metaphysical way to show you that you can always look back in your life and see where the Most High showed up for you. Huh? So even when they got out of Egypt, remember they were in slavery, they got out of Egypt and they were looking back and saying, then we should have stayed in captivity. We should have stayed in slavery. Well, imagine that. Imagine that. Things become so uncomfortable that all of a sudden we say, I should have stayed in slavery. All right? So this is what this means. Now, once they got to this point, right, you remember the Egyptians were chasing the Israelites out of Egypt. The Egyptians were chasing them, right? They were in the wilderness, they're tripping out, and they're in the water, or they're in front of the water. They're in the place between the water and the land. Shit, let me lock in. I'm being too nonchalant. All right, they are in a place between the water and the land. And there was a boundary that was formed by source in between the Israelites and the Egyptians. So they couldn't pass. So they were stuck at this point. And what scripture says is finally, the Israelites started to complain. What are we supposed to do? We should turn back. And Moses finally started praying to God. What should we do? And God's answer was, what are you praying? What are you praying to me for? Just go. That was the statement. What are you praying to me for? Just go. Then eventually conceded, okay, well, put your hand over the water, put your staff in the water, and spread the water. Now, in the remove text, what actually happens is the water does not split immediately. One of the Israelites walks into the water, right? He gets knee deep, doesn't split. He gets waist deep, doesn't split. Chest deep, doesn't split. Neck deep, doesn't split. It isn't until the water is over his nose, right? He can't breathe anymore. He can't take it. What does this metaphorically represent? When we have to continue to move, even when we don't see the way out, we have to walk by faith and not by sight, right? So eventually, when the water is over his nose, boom, now the water spreads. We know the rest of the story. They walked through the sea. Egyptians followed, right? And the Most High washed away their enemies. Now, of course, I'm talking about this from a purely metaphysical sense, but this is a story about manifestation. This is a metaphysical story, right? So this is why that I am is so important, especially in this story, because it is a story of manifestation. I am whatever you declare me to be. Right? The next quote is a Neville Goddard quote. All transformation begins with the change in the concept of self. We've been talking about self-concept a lot. Okay? And then the third, this is a quote from the Gospel of Thomas, right? What you seek is within you. Or what you're looking for out there is never out there. It's always within you. You are the root, the stem, and the bloom. You are all of it. You are the root, the stem, and the bloom. Okay? So when you speak the words I am, you are not just describing yourself, you are invoking the name of God. I am is not casual. It is not ordinary. It is the seed of creation itself. From the beginning, the divine spoke into the void and said, I am that I am. Not I was, okay? Not I will be, but I am eternal presence. This presence lives in you. And every time you say, I am tired or unworthy or broken, you are planting sacred seeds into the soil of your being. What is the soil of your being? Right? Well, when you think of that metaphorically, what I mean when I say that, planting seeds in the soil of your being, is that everything that you plant, everything that you declare that you are right now, it unfolds from within you. So you can think of it as a plant or a seed, right? Growing out of the darkness, growing through the ground. It goes through this process of growing. The plant always existed. Your desire always exists within you, but it grows through this third dimensional reality and what we call linear time. And you walk through the sprouting, the growing, the unfolding of your desire. This is how you can think of time. So every time you say, I am anything, you are planting sacred seeds into the soil of your being. And they must sprout. They must sprout. All right? The question is always, what are you growing? So remember, when we come into this space, a lot of people will say things like, okay, you want to say things, I am, because it's the present moment. Well, sure, but there's only always the present moment, right? You're always in the present moment. The real truth behind this is I am is simply the name of the Creator. It's a divine name. You're invoking the power of you, okay? And so when you even take a step further, it's not that you have to specifically say I am. You are declaring who you are with every statement that you make all the time. You are always making a declaration of who you are with every statement. Every statement is a declaration of I am. Right? I recently had a post where I was kind of giving people their flowers. Right? I was giving women their flowers. I was talking about the things that I liked in women. And what I noticed really quickly was there were a lot of women that were commenting on it, and they were just arguing for these limitations. Well, this type of woman isn't appreciated these days. This is how men see these women, right? And I get it, right? Even when I did a lot of videos for men back in the day, it was always those limiting beliefs. Well, women these days are like this. Well, good men are not appreciated, et cetera, right? You say, okay, well, your expectations are what create reality. And then people just continue to cling and argue for their limitations. Just continue to reach for their limitations and pull it, right? So it's not necessarily that I'm talking about something that happened in the past, right? Because of how I identify right now, I pull situations from my past and I use it to justify it. I say, whoa, no. I have an excuse for who I am because look at these things that happened. I'm not saying that those things didn't happen. I'm not saying that they're not real experiences. What I'm saying is we have to make a decision right now. We're going to continue to relive the past or create a better future. This is the only thing. It's not dismissing pain. It's not dismissing those very valid experiences that you went through. But we always have a choice. Do I continue to walk down that same bitter path and cling to that old situation, cling to how people did me? Or do I understand the truth? When I change my expectation, when I change the way I see the world, everything must change in accordance. Because there's no separation between me and reality. Okay? So whether it happened or not, it's irrelevant. Do you want to experience more of it? That's the more important question. Do you want to experience more of that same reality? If you do, then continue to cling on to it. Continue to tell that old story. Well, it's their fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. Right? Like I always say, we could all sit around. We could all sit around and talk about what happened to us in our past. No one escapes this life untouched, unscarred. Everybody goes through things. Okay? But we have to make a decision. Are we going to continue to use the past to justify who we're going to be right now? Or are we going to be a new person and create a better future for ourselves to walk in? Right? It's always the question. It is always the question. So the question is, what are you growing? So in the inner garden, your soul is a garden. Every thought you think is a seed. Every emotion is the soil. Every belief is the climate. And your consistent I am declarations are what waters this field. Right? So as Jesus said in the parable of the sower, right? Some seeds fell on rocky ground, some among thorns, but others fell on good soil and yielded 100-fold. It's a parable in Matthew 13. All right, so what is the condition of your inner world? Is your inner world full of bullshit? Or is it full of beauty? What seeds are you soiling or are you sowing within your inner soul? Because remember, every seed that you plant, every declaration of who you are is a seed that's planted and it grows. And how do we grow? How do we experience the growing of that seed, of that plant within us? Is we walk through linear time to confront ourselves. All these seeds will bear fruit. Some of the fruit you might not like. Some of the fruit might be thorns. Some of the fruit might be heavy ass rocks. But if you continuously sow those beautiful plants, they grow from within you. They sprout through 3D reality, and now you walk through the knowing of yourself. All right? This is what that parable means. So what is the condition of your inner world? Okay? What is the condition of your inner world? When I say your inner world, I'm not talking about your feelings. Remember, the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? Who can constantly 100% always know their feelings? But what you can control is your inner dialogue, the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak about the external world, the way you relate to reality, the story that you tell. If I have a negative feeling, I simply ask myself the question, what do I have to believe to be true to feel this way? And once I uncover that belief, now I change it in the moment. Not through some long drawn out process, right? But in the moment. And as I do that more and more often, as I become more conscious, more aware, now my reality changes. Because remember, consciousness is not about intelligence, it's about presence. It's about awareness. Reality is simply awareness. What are you aware of? What are you aware of being? Who are you aware of being? What are you aware of how the situation always unfolds for you? That is the important part. Okay? Are your I am seeds falling on the hardened terrain of trauma? Right? Are you pulling situations from your past into the present moment to justify continuously being like this? Well, then your seeds are falling on the hardened terrain of trauma. Are they choked? Are they choked by thorns of comparison, doubt, and fear? I'm not saying that, comparison, doubt, and fear are not real feelings, But do you give your feelings an excuse to tell a story of what you do not want? Do you allow your feelings to get you to to lie about who you are? Remember, your body is even a fetus, right? As it's born, the first thing that's going to develop is its heart is going to develop, its gut is going to develop, but even before the full entirety of the brain. So your gut's going to be your first brain. As we go through life, how this helps us. If you've ever looked at animals in the wild, right? If you see a deer get chased down by a lion, it's in fight or flight immediately. But then when that lion goes away or when they get away, they just go back to calm grazing the grass, right? They don't stay in this perpetual state of fear because they are highly instinctive. And what I mean by that is that their body dictates when they have a feeling, all right? That feeling dictates how they feel in that moment. And because they have this feeling, now all of a sudden their brain matches it and they run off. Because we have evolved over time and we've had to run from things, we've had to survive. What naturally happens with human beings is that when we have feelings, if you become conscious, right, the last time that you were hurt badly, right, maybe it was a money problem, maybe it was a relationship problem, but the last time that you were hurt badly, if you're very conscious of your body, you'll notice that you have pains in different places. Maybe a pain in your side, maybe your shoulder, maybe your back, wherever the case may be, right? And oftentimes this pain is because you see something you don't like, right? Maybe you catch somebody doing something and it hurts you. Now, your brain just takes a snapshot of that moment, but your body remembers that emotion as well. So your body takes a snapshot of the emotion, the brain takes a snapshot of that item. And now all of a sudden you start to relate. If I have this feeling, I think this thought. So you can go through life and you can have a feeling, and if you are unconscious, just because you have a feeling, your brain will start matching that feeling with thoughts. But your gut, your body is what reacts first. Your body reacts first. This is why consciousness and awareness is important, because what you don't want to do is walk through life, have a feeling in your body, and then automatically start telling a story that matches it, right? And so this is what people are talking about when they're talking about nervous system regulation. It is simply the fact that you can get to a point where your body might be doing something, but you don't automatically start running down the same path with your mind, with your thoughts, okay? So you don't even necessarily have to get to a point where your body always feels good. You just want to be conscious and aware enough to where you can acknowledge, yes, I feel like this, but I don't have to tell the same story. And the moment I do not tell the same story, now my reality can change. Remember, you can think of it like this. This is a good way to think about it. You are your most powerful self when you are in the middle of being triggered. You have a surge of energy running through you. This is when you are the most powerful self. This is when you have the greatest opportunities to break patterns. Your body is screaming at you. The external circumstance is screaming at you. And you make a very conscious decision to not think the same way that you always have. You have just broke the loop. You have just broke the pattern right there in that moment by telling a different story. So it's not necessarily that you have to, feel better when you're seeing everything fall to shit, or what looks like falling to shit, because it's always working out for you. It is simply, what is the story that you're telling? What's the expectation that you're telling about how things are unfolding for you? All right. So are your I am seeds falling on the hardened terrain of trauma? Are they choked by the thorns of comparison, doubt, and fear? Or have you cultivated an inner stillness that receives the divine word with trust and power? Have you cultivated an inner stillness that receives the divine word with trust and power? What is trust? Okay, what is trust? What is belief? What is faith? All right? It's simply a statement. It's simply a thought. All right? We always want to associate these things with feelings, but that's not necessarily the case. Your most frequent thoughts, the patterns that you go down, that is your belief. And you can break that pattern right now, in this very moment, simply by deciding to go down a different path with your thoughts. Okay? So as Hermetic law says, the Hermetic law tells us as within, so without. The bloom that you long for, the miracle that you long for is already encoded in the seed of your identity. right? You are in the miracle. You are the miracle, right? One of my favorite quotes. You stand in the middle of the miracle of life and you still look for signs outside of you. So let's get back into I am. The misuse of the name. The misuse of God's name. Using God's name in vain, okay? Many of us have been casting spells against ourselves. Every time we say I am unlucky, not good enough, not like them, always struggling, we misuse the divine name. We take God's name in vain, not just with profanity, right? Not just cursing, but every time we speak death over ourselves, or death over anybody, or death over that situation. Anytime that we lie, right? This is using the Lord's name in vain. You lie. God is within you. God is in that situation. God is everything. This is what omnipotent means. Even where a piece of God is, the whole of God must be there. God cannot be divided. Right? You are not a fragment of God trying to be whole. You are the wholeness of God pretending that you are a fragment. Now, this is what it means. So anytime that we speak that something is not in divine nature, all right, then we are using God's name in vain. Does this not just keep us in a state of hope despite our external circumstances? I mean, most people live in a state of hope but despite their external circumstances their whole life. This is not hope, right? There's a difference between hope and expecting that things are working out. There's a difference between hoping and knowing that source is within you, that you are absolutely divine and everything will work out for you. Right? Most people, that is what many people's life is built on. It's just walking through life hoping. I'm talking about taking it to a next step, understanding that God is within you, and because source is within you, you cannot fail. Right? Nothing, you can't be let down. This is your Father within you that does the work. It is the striving and the reaching and the thinking that we have to work to get things and work to be more worthy. That's what keeps us in this loop of hoping, casting off who we are to the future. Well, one day when I get worthy, one day when I do this work, one day when this happens, then I'll be in alignment with what I want. Reverse that process. You already are in alignment with everything that you want because you are source. Right? Drop the hope. Okay, hope is an illusion. If I believe women ain't shit, I can hope for a good one all I want. But my expectations will always be proven right. So it's not about hoping at all. It is about conviction. It's about faith. It's about belief. It's about knowing. Okay? So we misuse the divine name. We take God's name in vain, not just with profanity. Absolutely. We all in this together. Okay? We misuse the divine name. We take God's name in vain, not just with profanity, but every time we speak death over ourselves. Your I am, okay? Your I am is the most powerful statement you will ever make. How you define yourself, what you speak, this is the most sacred thing that you can ever do. And remember, we don't just say I am straightforwardly, right? The example that I just gave, right? If I think all these women ain't shit, what I'm actually saying is I am a man who only receives this, who only can perceive this. I'm making a declaration of my perception, which puts me in a specific dimension where my expectations must be met. But the moment I begin to change my viewpoint, now all of a sudden I can switch to another dimension where those expectations can be met. It's always about me. Right? So your I am is the most powerful statement you will ever make. It aligns your vibration with form. It calls forth your reality. It opens the gate to the sacred or the profane. It opens the gates to the sacred or the profane. That is powerful. All right, so a couple reflection questions before we move on a little bit. Number one, what I am statements do you say on autopilot that no longer serve you? Are there things that you say about yourself just on autopilot? Maybe they're beliefs that or expectations that you've held for a long time, but those expectations are not leading you towards the life that you want. All right. Maybe it's money is difficult to get. If you have that expectation, does that expectation put you in alignment with how you want to receive money? If you believe that most people will just do you wrong and people just pretend to be a certain way until they get to know you and then they just use you and leave and dip, people ghost you, does that expectation put you in alignment with what you want? If it doesn't, then why hold on to it, right? So the more that we examine our expectations, which only takes consciousness, remember, I'm not talking about some long, drawn out, mysterious reprogramming process where one day in the future, hopefully, maybe one day, if you affirm enough, all of a sudden your subconscious mind will snap into place and you will get the life that you want. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you have to walk around with your awareness right now. And as these expectations come up, you simply tell the different story right now. And so it is. And then when that story comes up again, you tell the different story again. This is this game of consciousness or awareness, right? If our entire life we've been going through life on autopilot, and whatever we hear, right, whatever we see, we just automatically make assumptions about it based on our feelings, except all I'm saying is take the opposite route. Be so aware of your life that you don't go on autopilot anymore. Right? Maybe tomorrow you're not on autopilot for 2 hours, and that's better than you've ever done. And maybe the next day is 3. Then maybe the next day is 1. Then maybe the next day is 10. Then maybe you just continue to do this, and you sow those seeds into your mind, into the soil of your being, and you allow them to grow. You allow them to grow. Yes, absolutely, exactly. It is a matter of just catching the thought and changing it in the moment. Absolutely. Perfectly said. Just it's as simple as that. That is what consciousness is. And when we say, in order to change your life, you need awareness, you need consciousness, that is what it is, right? I no longer walk through life and allow my feelings to dictate where my thoughts head. I no longer go through life and allow things that I've heard from other people dictate what I'm going to make my mental conversation. Even if it feels uncomfortable, I'm going to continue to do it, right? It's just catching your thought and telling a different story. Absolutely, 100%. So if two people act the same way, but one has a more positive perception, will their world be different? Absolutely. Like a divine presence changes your world. So here's the example that I give, right? If I have a twin brother, we live in the same place, we're roommates, okay? And we go to the exact same places all the time together. I have the expectation that women these days are terrible. He has the expectation that women these days cannot get enough of him. We're gonna go to the same places. We're gonna look exactly the same. We might have the same personality, but because of our perception, we will be in two completely different realities. From a metaphysical sense, right? However many people there are in the world, they say it's 8 billion. However many it is, that's how many different realities there are. That's why two people can be in the same restaurant. You can go to dinner with the same person, right? You can go to the dinner with somebody, and y'all have two completely different interactions with the world. You see things completely different. One of you just complained about the service the whole time, couldn't wait to go. The other one, you enjoyed it. The conversation was cool. You tipped the waiter good. You enjoyed your food. You just enjoyed the ambiance. Right? Two completely different realities. So it's always about our perception. The world is not, just what we see. We are what you see is not about reality itself. It's about you. We always see what we are. We always see what we are. Appreciate you. And yeah, the document will always be on YouTube. So all of these documents are on YouTube. Y'all can't tell that I'm reading for something. Y'all can't tell I'm reading. So all the documents, I keep them on YouTube though. I freestyle sometimes, but I do read. They're always on YouTube. You can document them or download them. You can do whatever you want with them, okay? So number two, reflection question. I know y'all don't think I'm coming up with these reflection questions off the dome, right? Number 2, reflection question. Which weeds of thought, resentment, fear, shame, need to be uprooted from your garden? Which weeds of thought? Are there places in your life where resentment is taking over, where fear is taking over, where shame is taking over? And because you feel these, because keep in mind, these are still feelings. because you feel these things, all of a sudden you are giving yourself an excuse to tell a story or have expectations of what you do not want to experience. For instance, if we talk about resentment, let's look at it from a perspective of jealousy. You look out in the world and you get jealous of somebody that has something. They have a good relationship. You want one. A nice car. You want one. All right? Now, the best question to always ask, that I always talk about, is what do I have to believe to be true to feel this way? So if I'm feeling this extreme jealousy, what must I have to believe, right? Go down the path, right? Dig into yourself. One of the exercises that we used to do whenever I worked in tech was we had a root cause analysis. When something went wrong within the network, we would ask, one of the techniques is asking 5 whys. So something broke, why? Okay, now for that answer, why? Now for that answer, why? If you cannot answer again or you get to 5, typically you are at the root cause, and that's where the work is. Okay, that is where the work is. So why do I feel jealous? Maybe the root is you do not feel that you can have that also. Well, now you have to stop lying to yourself. You have to remind yourself of the truth and change your expectation. Catch yourself right there. What is the truth? Reality is simply awareness. So anything that I can be aware of, I can have. It's all within me anyway. All right? So which weeds of thought need to be uprooted from your garden? When I talk about uproot, remember, I'm talking about catching these, being conscious, walking through the day, focusing on yourself, loving on yourself, right? Being mindful of yourself, enjoying life, right? If you feel down, feel down. You don't have to push it away or suppress it, but also ask yourself, what do I have to believe to be true to feel down right now? Because you get that answer, does it mean you'll automatically feel better? Maybe, but maybe not. But that's not what matters. Allow yourself to have the human experience. Give yourself grace. Go through life, but simply be aware and tell different stories. You do this over and over and over again, because your life has to follow. There's no separation between you and reality. You are reality. So as I begin to soil these new thoughts, to sow these new thoughts, sow these new seeds, it must be reflected. It must be reflected. Those seeds begin to grow immediately. Okay? So number 3. Third reflection question. If I am is God's name, what would change if you only spoke it with reverence? If I am is God's name, what would change if you only spoke it with reverence? What would change? First of all, everything would change. I'll answer it for you, okay? Everything would change, okay? Everything would change. Everything would change. If you only spoke God with reverence, remember, every thought, everything that you say is a spell. You're casting spells. This is the purpose of language in the first place, is to cast spells, to have a way to cast spells, to control reality, right? So if you only spoke God's name with reverence, if you only describe yourself, others, circumstances, whatever the case may be with reverence, your life will be full of reverence. It's all you could see, all you could be. It's all you could have. All you could have, right? Yeah, any beliefs that were planned or held on to for years can be changed in an instant. Remember, time is simply a human experience. It's an unfolding of what you believe to be true right now. So the moment that you accept a new belief to be true in this moment, it's unfolding from within you, right? Don't be so attached to that linear experience. Understand that the linear experience is just the unfolding. It's just the growing of that new belief. But the moment you accept it as true right now, that is what it is. It doesn't take, it never says, right? When we look at these spiritual texts or we look through scripture, it's not telling you that whatever you ask over time will be given to you. Even the word will, remember, when we look at the scripture, everything is in the realm of source. So will does not refer to a future event. It will happen in the future. Will is an absolute statement of ownership, that you have it, right? So what it's saying is the moment that you give yourself something now, whatever you ask in the Father's name right now will be given to you. The moment that you ask it, right, time becomes irrelevant. Go back to the end. Stay in the end. You have it. This belief is different now. My reality is different now. I'm in a different place right now. I'm in a different space right now. Right? And allow that old to fall away and the new to fall in. Now, when we talk about, yes, absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. Remember, So I'll read that question. Can I shift reality even in the basic needs categories, right? Starving, freezing, tired, etc. Absolutely. Remember, the only limitation that we have is the limitation that we make. So that's why all these discussions are simply meant to remove those limiting beliefs, right? Why would we think that source would only show up in certain areas and not others, right? The will of God is for his son, which is gender neutral, sons and daughters, let me put it like that. The goal of the Father, which is also gender neutral, the goal of source, the will of source is that his children have everything that they desire. And how does he guarantee that? How does source guarantee that you have everything that you desire? By creating you in the image of source, by being the word made flesh, which is you. So there's absolutely no limitation to what you can receive, right? Because remember, even those basic needs, the food, right, the warmth, right, even those things are what? What are those things seriously? They're identifying with lack, but you're not in lack at all. You are absolute pure divinity. And because you are absolute pure divinity in source, those things cannot take root in your life unless we look at the external circumstances and we continue to identify with those. Now, okay, so what if you accept a new belief but still emotionally feel pain from past experiences? Remember, even scripture will tell you that the heart is deceitful above all things, who can know it? Your feelings will always do what they do. The purpose of your feelings is they're just feedback on old beliefs, old thought patterns, old things that happened to you. But don't allow your feelings to make you change your story. And don't allow your feelings to make you feel limited. Okay? That's all that they are. Morning. Right? That is all that they are. They're just emotional feedback. They're emotional guidance system. So they're telling you, they're an emotional guidance system, literally, as Abraham Hicks says, right? It is just pointing you towards what you believe to be true or what you feel to be true. But it's not. Why? Okay, so why I'll constantly talk about feelings in this way is it is a trap to believe that purely your feelings create your reality, right? It's a trap. And when we think that it's just our feelings that are creating reality, what can happen is we tend to try to suppress things. We believe that if I feel bad, I'm out of alignment, so I have to run from this thing or run from this feeling. And what that does is it denies us of our human experience, right? It denies us of our human experience. And when we deny ourselves of our human experience, we deny ourselves the opportunity to actually grow. Remember, there's a difference between growing for the sake of growing because it's part of your human experience and you want to get better and do things better. It's another thing to say I'm growing to become worthy, to be in alignment. Remember, you're inherently worthy, you're inherently in alignment. No matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter what the circumstance looks like, you deserve everything that you want. So go to the end and stay there. Don't allow your feelings to pull you out that end, to allow you to tell a different story. Right? You can work through your feelings. Ask yourself the question, what did I have to believe to be true? If you already know that, right, be so conscious that even when those feelings show up, you can still tell the story of what you want. This feeling is just a sign that the old version of me is passing away, and that's fine. I treat it with reverence, with respect, with love. With respect, with love. I love myself fully through all parts of my human experience, knowing that because I am pure love, because I'm pure divinity, everything still must unfold from within me perfectly. Even if the situation triggers me and makes me feel some type of way, right? I understand that everything must change to get me what I want. I started here, I had a desire, I went to the end, I had it. Now reality must change to get there. So all change, whether it looks good or bad, negative, happy, doesn't matter. All change is for my greatest good. All change is the unfolding of my desires for me. Does that mean I won't have feelings throughout it? Absolutely not. You're a human. Give yourself the fullness of that human experience. But be aware, be conscious, and don't allow your feelings to give you an excuse to tell the story of what you don't want. Right? That's So that's what I'll say about feelings, right? So hopefully that answered the question. Hopefully that helps. Okay? And then number 4, okay? Question number 4, reflection question number 4. What kind of garden is your soul becoming, and who is it feeding? Cool, perfect. Okay? What kind of garden is your soul becoming, and who is it feeding? That's a profound question, because you can think about it metaphorically, you can think about it straight up, right? The garden of your being, every seed or every thought, every word that you speak is another seed that is planted in the garden of your being. So it all sprouts, it starts to grow, and it grows through linear time, right? Through this linear time, this human experience, and we walk through the unfolding. We walk through the unfolding of all the seeds that we planted, right? What kind of garden is your soul becoming? Every day, is it becoming a garden that's full of more beauty or more pessimism, right? More light, more love, more prosperity, or more lack, more betrayal, more pulling the things that happened in your past back into your present, okay? And then who is it feeding? Who is it feeding? Okay? Are you simply planting seeds that other people have told you this is how you should think? This is how you should be. This is what you should look for. Or well, are you feeding your soul? Are you actually going within yourself and communing with the source within you? And are you creating beauty from your thoughts? Right? And my name is on the screen, so it's an interesting question. All right, so gnosis, knowing the God within. Knowing the God within. The Gnostics taught that salvation is not external. It is gnosis, self-knowing. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of Gnosticism, right? I don't really identify as a Gnostic, but it's always interesting to get all these different spiritual perspectives, right? Because all of these different perspectives, it's like, as humans, right, based on where you are in the world, where you were born, where you were brought up, right, you're going to have different perspectives on truth. But when we start digging into all these things, right, the same way that God can speak to all of us in different ways, all of these different perspectives can bring us a fuller picture of what is true, right? Like Source might speak to me through music, or through words, or through somebody walking up to me and telling me something, right? Or you might see angel numbers. You might see a synchronicity where you've been affirming something and you see a billboard that confirms that, right? All of these things, all of these different ways of perceiving the truth is how Source speaks. Right? So it is important that we be open-minded to different perspectives, to different truths. Because at the core of all of these spiritual teachings, there is this one source within us. Okay? So the Gnostics taught that salvation is not external, it is gnosis, self-knowing. To remember that the Christ lives within. That you are not separate from the source, but a branch of the vine, a mirror of the infinite. Right? So one of the quotes that I always talk about from the Gospel of Thomas, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. And then the second part that I should have put in here is, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. It's a very harsh thing to say. But what does this actually mean? Okay. Let's look at our desires in a different way, okay? Even Scripture says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Right? Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And so there's another scripture that says, before they ask, right, I will answer or hear, something like that. You know what I'm saying? How could Source know that if y'all are not deeply intertwined? Right? So you are within God the same way God is within you. You are inseparable. The God within you is closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts, right? I forget what book it is that said, Source is closer than your jugular vein, right? Is it the Quran? I'm sure somebody knows, okay? But all these things point to the inseparable nature of you and divinity, of you and the God within you, okay? So when we start thinking like this, we get to a point where we say, okay, sure, look, I have this desire, but because before I ask, God will answer, who is it that places the desire there? I believe that I'm thinking of the desire, but really this is source placing the desire within me. There's only one mind. I believe that I'm independently thinking of this, and I believe I have to be more specific and clarify it with source and say and affirm it a certain way. But how did it get there? So we should start looking at our desires as promises. All right. Now, what also is the nature of a desire? That you've been going through life, and let's say that you see lack in your life, right? Your bank account's low or whatever. Okay. And now all of a sudden you get this glimpse of what you want. Remember, the things that you don't like are just giving you clarity on what you do want. So now you get a glimpse into what you do want. And what comes along with that glimpse, right? If you go within your imagination and right now you imagine yourself having the thing that you want, what you'll also receive is a glimpse of yourself. You'll see the truth of yourself. Okay? This is the version of you who embodies prosperity. The version of you getting into that nice car. The version of you that has the money to take care of their family, however, they embody something different. So it's not that when you're visualizing, you're specifically thinking of that thing, you're also getting a glimpse to you, to who you are. You're getting a glimpse into you. So all this is doing, if we really break this down, right, because I don't want to overly complicate this process because it's not a complex process. What your desires are telling you are the truth of who you are. It's just showing you who you really are. And so the moment that you have a desire, right, and we always talk about that Neville and Abdullah story, where Neville all of a sudden had a desire to go to Barbados. He went and told Abdullah this long, drawn out story about how he couldn't get there. He didn't know what to do. And Abdullah just simply said, you're already in Barbados. So the moment we have these desires, it's showing us what we want. Now, think about this, okay? What is the only difference between the version of you that you are right now or were in the past and the version of you that has that thing? There's no, look, that's the same person that you are right now. The only difference is what? It's the statement. It is that version says, I am this. If you really want to break this down to a very simplistic level, the only difference between that version of you in your mind that has that money and the version of you that doesn't is the I am statement of who they are. That's it. Is that one is in the end and one isn't. One has declared the truth that I am prosperity, I have this is that, and no matter what they see, they have persisted until it unfolded. And the other one identifies with the external reality. Which one will you be? Remember, as you walk through life, you have two choices. You're going to confront reality. You have no choice, right? This is the story of Job. Remember, in the story of Job, remember all these, especially the Old Testament, well, the whole Bible, all of these scriptures are different aspects of you communicating with yourself. Different aspects of your consciousness. The interesting thing about the story of Job is Job represents us. It's actually a journey of spiritual awakening. All his friends, his wife, they all represent different thoughts within him. His fourth friend, Elihu, represents his higher self going within. All right. Now, what actually happened in the story of Job? This is how you're married to the third dimensional reality. When everything was lost, Job was talking to his wife, which is just his mind, right? These are all aspects of consciousness. And what does his wife represent? The marriage that he has to his reality. You can't run away from reality. You can't divorce it, right? And his wife, when she sees that everything is going wrong, what does she say? She says, why do you still have your integrity, right? Curse God and die. Now, as we know, there's no death. There's no death. So if these are aspects of consciousness, what does this actually mean? This is when we look out into our reality that we are married to. And we say, why am I still doing this? Why am I still visualizing? Why am I still staying in the end? I don't see anything happening. Now I want to curse God. God is within me. I want to curse this new knowledge of who I am, this new state of being. And I want to die to this new version of me, and I want to go back to the old self. This is metaphysically what this means. Metaphysics, like, oh, I give up. I no longer want to be this new person. Let me go back to the old version of me. So we always have a choice with our reality. You are going to walk through life, and you're going to have two choices. You are going to trigger reality to change, or reality is going to trigger you to go back. And I'm going to say this gently because even when I say that, I can already feel the questions. I can already say, okay, well, what do I have to do when I see unfavorable situations? That's a normal question. It's natural. The answer that I always give is if you already have it, why does it matter what you do? Go to the end and stay there. I have the thing. I have it. This is just another step. So if I react unfavorably, it's whatever. I already have it. If I react negatively, I don't have it, or I already have it. If I react positively, if I ease through it, I already have it. What is the story that you are telling? We can't, if we make this conditional, remember the nature of the God within you is that this is unconditional love. The God within you is unconditional love, but we get into this space and we make it conditional. Well, in order for me to get what I want, I have to do this. So it's almost as if we're waiting for this negative situation and then we're judging, oh, how am I going to react to it? And if I react this way, then I'll get what I want. We're making it conditional. If I affirm this way, then I'll get what I want. We're making this conditional. You have it because you stay in the end. This is unconditional. I have it because I say that I have it, because it's all unfolding from within me. When I make it about striving or working or having to prove my worthiness through affirmations or visualizations or all these things, I'm making this conditional. I'm going against the unconditional love within me. This is unconditional. So the question is never, what do I have to do? It's what do I have to remember that I already am? That is, when we say faith without works is dead, the works that we're talking about is purely mental work. Remembering who you are. Okay? So when we go back to that quote, or the Gospel of Thomas when it says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. All right? If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you bring forth the knowing that you desire, you already have it, then it will save you. It will get you out of whatever situation you're in. Your I am awareness will save you from everything. The God within you is ready to save you from every circumstance, every situation. It does not see lack. It's pure positivity, pure love, pure prosperity. The same power that creates galaxies out of nothing, stars out of nothing, is the same power that flows within you, ready to give you everything that you want. But you have to give it to yourself first. You have to marry that version of you with no prenup. You have to marry that new version of you with no exit strategy. With absolutely no exit strategy, right? With man, it's limited. But with that source within you, all things are possible, right? If you do not know the way to get what you want, well, what is the truth? What is the truth? It's that I am the way. What does that mean? Your I am awareness is the way. What you declare. If you don't know how to get prosperity, declaring I am prosperity, that is the way. That is the way. Invoking God's name and saying prosperity, I am prosperity, that is the way. If you don't feel it to be true, I am the truth. What you declare to be is the truth. It's not about feeling. I am the truth. These are spiritual truths, right? Invoke the name of God within your life. Call on source. Call on source. Okay? So if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring it forth, what you don't bring forth will destroy you. If you do not bring forth that desire, that new version of you, no, I can't have that because, how many times do we talk ourselves out of our own desires? I can't have prosperity because other people are struggling. You can't help them if you're struggling either. So I guess y'all are both going to be struggling together. Just knowing that you have that divine urge to help others should be even more of a reason why you open yourself up to receiving, knowing that you can do a lot more help when you have than versus when you don't. It's all you. It is all you. Okay? No, it is all you. And does this coincide with a form of detachment? No, it doesn't. When I talk about detachment, keep in mind, I'm always going to be talking about detachment from a perspective of the unfolding. Right? When we read scripture and it says, thy will be done, right? Your will, not mine, to be done. This isn't some humble act of saying the end, right? Going to the end is not, this is not some way of saying, if I have a desire, you're going to judge whether it's right for me or not, and you're going to grant it. Remember, even the crucifixion and the resurrection, This is a metaphorical way to say that no matter what situation that you are in, you too can rise out of that and be reborn as a new version of you. Jesus representing your spiritual big brother. Okay? Now, when we talk about detachment, we're purely talking about detachment from an unfolding perspective. From an unfolding perspective. Your way, not mine. I don't give a damn how it unfolds. I don't give a damn what I see. Don't give a damn what I feel. I'm already in the end. I stay there. I am faithful to my desire. Blessed is he who believes before he sees. Right? Whatever you ask in the Father's name will be given to you. Right? These are not statements of detachment. These are statements of absolute knowing and conviction that you have those things. Right? Think about that. Blessed is he who believes before he sees. That's not a statement of detachment. That's a statement of conviction, of being faithful to that version of you that has it. So staying in the end, that is the path. Detaching, when we talk about detaching, we're talking about detaching from the need to believe that your feelings give you an excuse to tell a story against what you want. Thinking that those external circumstances are giving you an excuse to tell a story of what you don't want. Right? So that is detachment. Detached from the middle, not the end. Right? I know what you want. I know how you feel about your desires. You want that shit. We all do. But do you want it from the expectation of knowing everything is unfolding? Because you can only expect if you go to the end. Or do you want it from lack? If you want it from lack, you're going to constantly be judging shit. Oh, is that showing me a sign? Right? We are going to be needing the external world to give us validation that it's unfolding the right way. That's when we know we're not detached. Right? And even detachment, again, it's not a feeling. Well, it's not a feeling, okay? It's simply a declaration. It's going through life, and instead of trying to judge everything as okay, here's a oh shit, okay, here we go. This is a better way to think of detachment. Judge not by appearance, but judge righteously. That is detachment. Detachment to the need to see everything unfolding a certain way to know that I have what I want. Does it mean that I won't feel any kind of way? No. But I can be consistent in my story. So don't think that detachment means I see prosperity and everything is going wrong in my reality. The bills are falling. The landlord's knocking on the door and I feel nothing. Don't confuse, right? When I'm saying this, with all things, do not confuse feelings for the declaration for being. Do not confuse feelings with being. When we think of detachment, we think that we have to walk around like Buddha when the bullets are flying through our life. That's not it. It is having the awareness to keep control of your mind, to keep your composure, keep your mind. That is what we're talking about when we talk about detachment. Right? You're not a robot. You're probably not going to walk through life and a bunch of shit is happening and you just be happy all the time. Right? We might have to check on you if that's the case. We might have to have a little intervention for your ass, right? But what we're saying is that once you actually start going through this and you stay aware, you stay conscious, whatever happens, though your feelings might be going crazy, though your body might be doubting, you're still going to be faithful to your story. I've married this story. I've married this new version of me, and I will love you until death do us part, in the good times and the bad. You have to say those real wedding vows to yourself, to this new version of yourself. I don't just commit to you when it feels good. I commit to you in good times and in quote unquote bad. Situation might not look ideal, but the God within me is perfect, so the situation must be unfolding perfectly. Right? You marry yourself. We talk about relationships. Think about this the same way you think of a relationship. Is it all going to be peaches and fun and good times and rainbows and butterflies? No, sometimes you're not going to like what you see. Sometimes y'all are going to argue. But that's fine. But that's perfectly fine. All right? Perfectly fine. So, where was I? Okay. All right, so the rose does not apologize for blooming. The sun does not ask for, oh, my bad. Let me get the YouTube comments, bro. I'm tripping. Your boy is tripping. All right, so when you say you have it, do you then let it go and not think about it anymore at all? No. No, 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 no. So, and maybe you asked this before I responded, probably so. So, don't think that detachment means detachment from feelings. Guys, let's give ourselves grace. Let's enjoy the human experience. You came down here, right? Let's say that you're floating. Let's put this in perspective. Let's say that you are a soul, you're a being just floating around in the cosmos. Let's say that you're just out here in 4D, right? You're attached to everything, you have everything, and you have no emotions. Let's say you can't feel anything. And someone comes up to you and they say, hey, look, right? Of course, this is a interesting example, but they say, you know what? You can go to this place and you can experience every kind of emotion. Peace, pain, moments of extreme bliss, moments of extreme despair that are going to teach you to enjoy that bliss more. You're going to be able to experience all these things. Before they finish, you say yes, but you might get hurt. And this, okay, that's cool. Sign me up. Then we come down here, we think to get what we want, we have to be in this state where we are walking through life, right? Completely detached from emotions. No emotions going whatsoever, no matter what you see. Are you telling me that if you lose a close family member, you're not going to feel upset? There's no death in the kingdom, right? But it's still a human experience. I mean, you're not going to cry. And so if you feel bad, does that all of a sudden mean that you're out of alignment now with what you want? So no, it's not about your feelings. Allow your feelings to be, but don't let your feelings pull you into the wrong story, right? So when you say you have it and then let it go, it's not even about not thinking about it anymore. You're gonna think about it. You want that shit, right? You want that shit. But when you think about it, how many times can you remind yourself that you already have it and everything is unfolding for it? Remember, you make the rules. You make the rules. So why I'm putting it in this way is because if you have a belief that letting go means that I can never think about it again, and then if I don't think about it, then it'll come up. If you have that belief, then, I mean, first of all, how practical is that? And if you have that belief, that becomes a law that governs your reality. And that's a very, very, very difficult rule to follow. The truth is that you have it no matter what. You go to the end and you say it, that you have it no matter what. I am that I am no matter what. So no matter how I feel, it's still unfolding. No matter what I see, it's still unfolding. Even if the situation doesn't look right and I react a certain way and I remind myself, I already have it, everything is unfolding perfectly. It's done. It is done. I'm still in the same reality. It is unfolding perfectly. So it's always about us, right? Anytime that we have those kind of questions, right, I want y'all to start breaking that shit down, man. You have no limitations, no limitations. All right, so final declaration, okay, the reclamation of I am. So begin again, speak with intention. Say, I am divine soil. I am the breath of the Creator. I am worthy of blooming. I am the garden and the gardener. I am that I am, because you are. Because you are. You are not waiting on a future blessing. You are the miracle becoming aware of itself. You are God in the mirror, learning again to look upon yourself with holy eyes. Ooh. So tend your thoughts, water your beliefs, speak sacredly, and watch what blossoms. You are always planting. The question is, what are you growing? Right? This is the practice. This is the power. This is the path. All right. And now we got a couple affirmations. We got some good affirmations today. All of them are centered around that divine I am that I am identity. All of them are. Let me add that little thing up in there. All right, cool. So go on and sit back, y'all. Go on and sit back and enjoy these affirmations. Enjoy these affirmations. Let them speak to you. Remember that you already are these. You are not becoming these. This is your birthright. You are already all of these. Already. Okay? So let's get into it. Number one. All right? Number one. I am not the mask. All right, hold up. I just caught that. All right. I get what you're saying with the experimenting, but I want to put. Let me say something, okay? Because that just offers a great thing that we can talk about, that we can all have a discussion on. When we come into this space, all right, this is not a having the life that you want, changing your identity. This is not a I don't even know how to put this. This is not a 30-day trial period where, okay, if I do this for this, or if I change my identity for this, and I'm not saying that you're saying that. It's just a good point. This is not I'm going to try this out for a little bit and see what happens. Okay? I'm just going to try to change my identity, and then I'm going to see, what life throws at me. This is a commitment to die of the old you and be rebirthed as a new, more divine you, and align with everything that you want. Right? When we say I'm gonna just do this for a little bit and 3 days or whatever, what we are actually doing is we are putting this expectation, I'm going to do something to get something. Instead of I'm going to be this new thing to change my entire life, to change everything. I'm going to walk in the divinity of who I truly am from this point forward. And I understand that all reality must change. It must change. It isn't I'm going to pretend to be somebody for 3 days. And hopefully things change. I'm going to constantly be looking around to see if things change. And then I'm going to go back to the old version of me. This is completely dying to the old self. You are an infinitely expanding being. This is a commitment. This is who you are now. That old version of you that saw lack, that looked out at life and judged things as negative. Oh, it's not working out anymore. That version of you is gone. Leave them in the past. Leave them right now. Leave them where they are. Write a love note to them. Tell them you love them. Thank you for getting me this far. But from now on forward, we are doing things a different way. The divine way. I'm going to make you proud, and I'm going to get you everything that you desire. Because we are going to embody it. This is who you are now. There's no going back, right? So even if you're saying, okay, I'm going to, work up to this by being conscious more and more every day. I'm going to do my best to be conscious. Sure, do that. But this is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. All right. So let's get to the affirmations. All right. Number 1. I am that I am. Okay. I am not the mask that I wear, nor the past that I carry. I am the breath behind all names, the flame behind all forms, the eternal, the unchanging, the divine. Okay. All right, number 2. I remember who I am. Before the world told me who to be, I walked with God. I reclaim my sacred name and rise as the one who is never lost. I reclaim my sacred name and rise as the one who is never lost. Next. I am the Word made flesh. I speak not as one seeking power. Hear that. I speak not as one seeking power. I speak as power itself. Every word I utter is a divine decree shaping my reality. Every word I utter is a divine decree shaping my reality. Remember, Job 22:28, thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be added unto thee. What does decree mean, right? We Googled this together. What does decree mean? To speak as a legal authority. To speak as a legal authority. I speak and reality moves because I am reality. I decree what I am and reality must match because I am reality. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Next up. Next up. I am the image and likeness of the Most High. It's just a warm up to it. Okay, I'm the image and likeness of the Most High. I no longer bow to fear, lack, or any other false identity. These are all false identities. Fear, lack, doesn't mean you're not going to feel them, right? Doesn't mean you won't feel them. But they are constructs of the ego. They are not real. They are not real. I no longer bow to fear, lack, or any other false identity. I rise as the reflection of the infinite, holy, whole, and unstoppable. I like that one. I like that one. And no, these are all for everybody, man. This one, so I put all of these documents on YouTube. So you can take them, you can download them, you can do what you can make a paper airplane out of them for all I care. You can do whatever you want. All right, you can do whatever you want. Beautiful. No 7-day trial period. Facts. You are in it. You are in this game. All right. Here's the next one. My presence is enough. I do not chase. I do not beg. I stand in the fullness of I am. And all things align to that truth. I am that I am no matter what. You feel me? You feel me? All right, next up. All right, go and take a seat. We're going to be here we still going to be here for a little while, right? You know, grab you some wine, right? I am divine intelligence embodied. I do not need to figure it all out. I already am the wisdom, the way, and the unfolding. Ooh, I do not need to figure it all out. I already am the wisdom. I am the way. I am the unfolding. That goes back to what we were saying. What if I don't know how to do it? What if I can't see the way out? I am the way. I am the way. What I declare after I am is the way. It is the way. I don't know how to get this prosperity. I am prosperity. Say it. That is the way. All right. Next up. Every cell in my being vibrates with divinity. Every cell in my being vibrates with divinity. My spirit commands and matter responds. I walk in harmony with the cosmos, for I am the cosmos in human form. One more time. Those were bars right there. My spirit commands and matter responds. I walk in harmony with the cosmos, with the universe, with the infinite, for I am the cosmos in human form. I am divinity. I am God in human form. You are the intersection between divinity and identity. Between God and human. You are the intersection. Do you understand that? You are the intersection of divinity and identity. Next up. I am who do we do? Say that one more time, my brother. Say that one more time. I might just be misreading it. I'll revisit once we finish these, all right? So next up, all right? I am not becoming, I already am, right? Remember, when we talk about striving, working, reaching for this future version of you who will be worthy, remember that you already are that right now. I am not becoming. Get off of that hamster wheel of becoming. Chasing that carrot on the treadmill, chasing your worthiness on the treadmill, running as fast as you can, getting nowhere, staying in the loop of striving. Remember, a declaration of I have to work to be worthy is a declaration that I am not worthy right now. When you are inherently worthy. But because it's unconditional love within you, you'll always receive what you decree to be true no matter what. Because you say, I have to do this, I have to pick up a feeling, conjure up a feeling. I have to walk this way, I have to feel this way to be worthy. You're making a decree that you're not already worthy. You're casting Your worthiness, your birthright into the future. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. You are worthy right now, no matter what. What if you don't feel worthy? What if you don't feel worthy? What if you don't feel worthy? I am worthy no matter what. You are worthy no matter what. It's not a feeling. It's not a feeling, all right? So I am not becoming, I already am. I release the illusion of striving. I release the illusion of striving. I rest in the knowing that all that I seek, I already contain. Hear that. I rest in the knowing. I release the illusion of striving. I rest in the knowing that all that I seek, I already contain. What you seek is waiting on you to be what you seek is waiting for you to acknowledge it within you. Everything that you are seeking is already within you, waiting to be acknowledged. Hear that. When I say, man, I just got to feel worthy to be worthy, the universe says yes. When I say, man, I've been doing all this affirming, but nothing's happening, the universe says yes. When I say, man, I need this woman so I can feel whole and complete and loved, what does Source say? Says, okay, cool, yes. Keep looking then. When you say, I am worthy, I am prosperity, I am love, all things must be added unto thee, right? Seek ye first the kingdom, and all things must be added unto thee. Number 9-ish, okay? Number 9-ish. I am sacred authority. No voice outside of me holds more power than the truth within me. I speak, move, and create as the divine incarnate. I like that one. I love that one. I love that one. I love it. All right, one more time. I am sacred authority. No voice outside of me holds more power than the truth within me. I speak, move, and create as the divine incarnate. And last but certainly not least, I am the temple and the light within it. I am the temple and I am the light within it. I am the divine. I am God. I am that I am. No matter what, I am divinity. I house the holy of holies. My life is the altar. My breath is the prayer, and my being is the proof. And absolutely, all of these are on YouTube. All of them are on YouTube. Well, the document, once I end the stream, then I upload the documents to YouTube. But if you go through the past videos, you can always pull the affirmations. So right when we end this stream, I'll upload it within a couple minutes, and it'll be there for you. But yes, they're all on YouTube. All right? And so that was the last one. But in order to, so just to recap, right? We talked specifically about the name I am, right? The name that the Most High gave to Moses, that blank check, I am that I am. Basically saying, I am whatever you say I am. That username caught me off guard. I am that I am. This is a blank check. This is a pure blank check. I am whatever you say I am. All right? Cool. So let's talk about whatever y'all want. You got any questions? We can talk about questions for a little bit. I still got a lot of battery today, so we're good. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. We can. Matter of fact, my brother left a comment. Let me see. So yeah, as I'm recreated, the acceptance from others perceived with good intentions. Let's talk about that, okay? So that in itself is always a conscious decision, right? How do I perceive the input of others? Now, even content creation has kind of pushed my my push my wisdom with this, right? It is always making the assumption that whatever somebody is posting or commenting, it's done with the intention of them. It's done with a good intention, all right? A good intention. However they perceive it to be. However they perceive it to be. So the moment that I change myself, okay, it's all working out for me. Everything is beautiful. People are receiving the message. Let's put it like that. People are receiving the message. Now, this is where perception becomes so important, all right? Now, let's say somebody jumps on and they say something like, we could use examples from this chat. I could scroll up. But let's say somebody, basically says, what you're saying is bullshit. Okay, that's fine. From their perception, okay, that's their truth. They're doing that to help, right? No matter how I believe that they should go about it, they went about it in the way that they felt was responsible, which is fine, all right? So even when I think of that, now I have to challenge myself. Now I have to challenge myself to experience reality different. Do I really care enough about this situation to say, okay, everything that people post or comment is a welcome and lovely comment? No, I don't care that much. Right. But I can still look at the world different and say that everybody is speaking their truth and they're doing something from a genuine place of trying to help others or trying to help me or trying to help themselves, which is fine. Right. But that's their cross to carry. Right. I can either be offended by what people do or I can just move forward in just the knowing of who I am. Right. I think we've all been there, right? We've all been in situations where someone says something that we don't agree with and we just jump to judge it. We just jump to judge it. I think one of the comments was like, who are you to teach? Who are you? And what gives you the right to teach? It's like, who are you to say I don't have the right to teach? Right? So it always is this double-edged thing. What gives somebody the right to speak and what gives somebody the right to shut up? Who are we to judge anything? Right? So even when it comes to challenging your perception, sometimes it's not even about going to the point that, only good things happen to me. It's how do I choose to react to the world? How do I choose to see things? Which battles are worth fighting? Which ones aren't? Right? There's one dude that at the beginning of every stream, he just comes on here. Every stream. I don't know. It's obviously a fake account, but there's been a few like that, and they just show up and they'll troll for a second and then eventually disappear. Right? Why do people do that? I don't know. But from my perception, you do things because you feel that that's the right thing to do. You just feel like that's the right thing to do, right? Which is fine. If you believe it's the right thing to do, then do that. It's not going to bother me. And am I going to spend energy trying to change just everybody? Trying to choose a different version of everybody? No. But I have better things to focus on in my life. Right? But I also understand that even the point of this message is, let's say that my main goal is to reach more people. That's cool. Well, then everything helps. If I think about it from that perspective, everything helps. So even if I go back to a position of, everything is working out for me, even that is more in alignment with the truth that everything is working out for me. Because all engagement is good engagement. It can make people think with it. It can have people kind of question me more with it, and that's fine, because questions lead to more clarity anyway. If you question me, you say, okay, I don't believe that. That sounds like bullshit. No, that's not, right? Because I've had several people be like, no, that's not true. And why I like that is because it gives me the opportunity to go deeper and be like, all right, cool. Sure, let's talk about truth, or let's talk about this in a little bit more depth. I get where you're coming from. Let's break this down in this different way. And then hopefully that gives more clarity to other people. Hopefully that gives more clarity to whoever needs it, right? Everything is done intentionally. It's all unfolding for me, right? No matter what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. It's all unfolding for me. It's all unfolding for me. My bad. Let me check it out. Let me check it out. No, there's nothing there. I don't know what's going on with Instagram lately. Oh well. Oh well, we'll get to it. How can you sort out betrayal? I keep seeing the world from a fearful state now. Sort out betrayal. Let's talk about sorting out anything, and then let's talk about betrayal, because it's always going to be difficult when we think that we can change the world in general, right? So when you say, I see the world this way, right? Or I see this in the world. Remember, we're not just creating our reality on one level. We're creating from a collective perspective, and then we're also creating from an individual perspective. So based on the collective, we are fed information by the media, by the news, by the government, by whoever, right? And they tell us this is how to think. This is how the world should be. This is how to, this is how you have to have a good life here. And so all together as a collective, we are imagining reality together. Even when you think about this from a metaphysical sense, right? You don't even see things in real time. The sun, wherever you think the sun's from, or wherever you think the suns are, the sun, or wherever you think the sun is, or the suns are, whatever you believe, right? The rays of light are shooting from the sun here, and they are going into your eyes and then into your brain as a collective, because there is only one mind. We are all thinking together, and we are creating this world together, all right? And so we come into agreement in the one mind, and that image is shot back into my brain and back out of my eyes, and then I perceive this image of reality. This is how reality is working. It's always working like this, right? So first of all, you're always seeing the past. Second of all, you're seeing from the perspective of a collective consciousness. So what does that mean? It means as a collective, right? It's like somebody saying, well, if I can manifest anything, how do I manifest world peace? How do I manifest people not being betrayed all over the place? It's like, well, that's a collective thought. You have the choice to choose how you're impacted by those things in your own personal life. That is where your choice and your free will comes in. Is that as a collective, there'll always be large amounts of whatever in the world. We'll always see things we don't agree with, because the world is moving based on a collective sense. Well, not always, but right now we're in a time where there's always going to be something. So even to say, okay, how do you get out of world hunger or poverty, right? That takes more than just one person. That takes more than one person. That takes a collective agreement. But yet, with all those things still going on, I have the opportunity to choose how those things impact me. Sure, it may be in the world, but I am completely unimpacted by betrayal. This is why even Scripture says, let the weak say, I am strong. Joel 3:10. Another way to say that, right? Let the one who sees lack or sees betrayal say, I am pure love. I am pure prosperity. Okay? Don't allow reality to dictate who you are and what you allow into your experience. You be the one who speaks the truth of who you are into your experience, so you can walk through life and you can relate to the things that you want. You can see the things that you want. You can experience the things that you want. Right. So it's as simple as that. And I gave that long spiel just to kind of bring it back down. So I know you weren't talking about all that, but I think it was an important point. And so sometimes I just use questions to jump out and say some shit. But when we talk about from an individual perspective, like, I only see betrayal. I only am betrayed if I identify as someone who is betrayed. Now, this also goes down to self-concept, because we can always say things like, well, I didn't even expect this person to betray me, but they did it out the blue. And I'll say, okay, cool. Sure. Do you identify as someone that has been betrayed? Is this the first time this has happened? Has the thought of being betrayed never crossed your mind before? I never thought anybody would betray me. And this is just came out the blue, a shocker. No, if you're honest with yourself, this was an aspect of your consciousness first. It was accepted in consciousness. So if I want a new reality, it's not that I just have to push that thought out of my mind. I can no longer identify with it. Let the one who feels betrayed or sees betrayal say, I am not betrayed. Anyone in my life is very lucky to be here. They treat me like the god or the goddess that I am. They only want to be loyal to me. Right? And the moment that we start to make those parts of our self-concept and we start to see the world differently and expect different outcomes in our life, now we can have those different outcomes. Right? So remember, reality is never about just what you see. It's always going to be about, who you're being. And let's say, oh shit, my bad. How do you navigate relationships with people you don't get with, but have to be around, i.e. family? You deal with them however you can, right? So like I say, right, everybody is going to be you pushed out. Now, I'll look at it from these two levels. I'll give two examples of how you can handle these things. Remember that everything that you experience is trying to show you something about yourself. For instance, we go through life and we believe synchronicities are numbers, right? If I see, if I pull up and somebody's got a 333 on their license plate, I'm gonna say, oh my God. And we just go to Google and start looking it up. What does this mean? Really, it means whatever we say it means. But how often do we treat synchronicities with family or with friends the same way? Because if it happens, right, we all say, like, God, the universe speaks in patterns. So if you've been triggered twice by the same family member, what is that telling you? That's a synchronicity. Right? It's telling you something about their relationship. Now also, you have an opportunity to change your expectation about that situation, which therefore could change the situation. Or you have an opportunity to just go with the flow, allow it not to bother you, and just leave it how it is. Accept that person, meet that person where they are. Or you have an opportunity to just be pissed off and allow them to bother you all the time. Or you have the opportunity to cut them off. So again, I'm not gonna say exactly what you should do, but I will always be clear when I say everybody is you pushed out. You have an opportunity to decide how you relate to the world in general and how your expectations are gonna be, which is gonna change the world in general. But am I gonna tell you to sit there and try to change every person? Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. To choose a different version of every person. No. There are people in my life, especially family, where, it is what it is. They are who they are. I just accept and love them for who they are, and I meet them where they are. That's it. I'm not going to take my time on changing my expectations of them, but unless it's a dire situation, right? Like one's sick or something like that. But that's when our discernment comes in. Let's say you're recreated. What are your thoughts on others attacking / sabotaging this recreation? Well, that's how the external world is. Remember, it's not others. Everyone is you. Everything is you. So what happens when you try to change is because you've been a certain person for so long. We typically say things from a physical perspective, from a third dimensional reality perspective, and we'll be like, well, people don't want you to change and, they're used to a certain version of you. Sure. From a spiritual perspective, that is the case, but it's a little deeper than that. There's no separation between you and reality. So because you embodied a state for a certain amount of time, you had a version of you in that state. And that version of you was fed off of your energy, right? You had different entities, spiritual entities, which are all within you. Okay. Matter of fact, let me not make this confusing. You have different versions of you that identify as a certain person. And because you are embodying that version of you, reality is pushed out. So everybody is reacting to that version. Now, the moment you decide to step into a new version of you, that old version of you fights back. It says, no, give me the energy. Come back here. Because if you don't give it energy, guess what? It dies. And nothing wants to die. If somebody runs up to you and starts choking you out, you are going to fight back naturally. You're going to get them off of you naturally. All right? So these things, it's not that the external circumstances or people are trying to sabotage you per se. It is that old version of you is trying to fight to stay relative. And the only thing that you have to do is acknowledge the truth of that. Oh, these old circumstances are just showing up because that old version of me is dying. And so we should get some relief in that fact and in that knowing. Oh shit, it's just an old version of me, right? This means that it's going away. And so now I can stand firmer in who I am with a little bit more confidence. Right? So oftentimes, so why is everyone pushed out? If, for example, my brother is a real liar and everyone else is off. Well, damn, that was a major assumption right there. I hope you caught that one. That was a major declaration right there. But think about it. So let's think like this, right? So because everybody is you pushed out, does it mean that everybody's going to be the same? You know, if we think about it from a logical perspective, yes. But as we talked about in the past, right, there's demons and angels within you. Angels, demons, different aspects of your own consciousness, right? So the fall, the Satan fighting against God and being cast out of heaven, that is parts of us being cast out. So another way to think about this, right, that unhealed trauma, the jealousy, all these things that we consider Satan, the metaphysical evil, right, the opposing thoughts, the thoughts that are lying, the deceiver, the robber, consider that Satan. What happens naturally when we don't confront certain aspects of ourselves, right? My hatred for liars, or maybe I was a liar when I was a child, right? What we do is we cast that out of us, and it gets externalized into other people. Right? There are some people that would be very scared of certain people in the world. They'll be very scared of certain people in the world. They'll cast out certain parts of themselves to that person or to certain types of people, and they'll never confront that. Let me give an example. I'm trying to give a. Okay, let's give this example, all right? Let's say that you see somebody that is homeless, right? Let's say that you see somebody that's homeless. What are your immediate thoughts about that person, right? Let's say that they're, it's the middle of the night, it's dark outside, and they're walking towards you and you really don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect, right? There could be a sense of fear there, right? There could be a sense of fear. There could be, a sense of unease or just a sense of annoyance, right? And a lot of times some of those, even those feelings of annoyance, they fly below our radar, below our subconscious mind. Even if you don't want to think about it from a homeless perspective, there are probably certain people in your life that you just get annoyed with for no reason, right? Like my parents, for instance. I ain't gonna talk about them. Let's say there's certain people in the world where if you bring up the name of a certain religious figure or a political figure, they will immediately go down to a spiral of hatred. They will call that person all kinds of names, even though they've never met that person. What are the aspects of that person that really bother them? Maybe they believe that person's a liar. Maybe they believe that person is a part of them, an emotion within them that they haven't really confronted. Right? Why do we become so judgmental towards other people? It's simply because there's parts of ourselves that we need to identify and understand why we've been casting it out. Why am I so bothered by someone that I call a liar? Right? Is it because I wanted a deeper relationship with that person and now I feel like I can't have it because of this? Right? Is it because, maybe I needed them in a time of need and I trusted them and they didn't do it? Oftentimes when we get to that point, it's like, all right, well, because a certain situation happened and I've held on to this belief of who they are, now I am basically giving them a sentence. I'm the voodoo doctor in their life, and they have to stay that person because I've held on to the past so strongly, so tightly that they don't have the energetic space to change. So yes, everyone is you pushed out. And also remember that when we see things that we don't like in people, it becomes very easy to generalize them and give them a death sentence Give them a sentence or a declaration of who they are and hold on to it no matter what. Right? Even the way that we talk becomes different. So that, even saying something like, okay, this person is a real liar, that in itself is a very, it's a very harsh statement. Very harsh statement. And why I gave those examples, and they're so general, is because it would be difficult. It's impossible for me to talk about the parts of someone's personality that they cast out without being them. Like, just by me telling a story, you're not going to be able to judge what part of myself or what happened in that situation that's caused me to hold on to that thing, right? It's a very personal experience. So I kind of feel like that example fell short. The example I was given, I think it fell short. But we have to do the inner work to go within ourselves and say, okay, what am I holding on to that is causing me to see this person this way, and they're completely different than everybody else? That in itself is a synchronicity. That's trying to show me something about the situation. Yeah, I'm not really satisfied with that answer. Anyways, let me see what other questions came up. Even if we have proof? Okay, yeah. Even if you have proof, yes. What is proof? What is proof? I get what you're saying, but let's challenge each other here. All right, what is proof? This is the exact same thing. I made a post earlier today, and this lady was like, certain women don't get appreciated, and I was like, that's a limiting belief, goddess, right? She was like, how is that a limiting belief when I'm just telling it how it is? I was like, because your expectations create reality. She was like, or this has just been shown to me in the past. What is that an example of? Clinging to our limitations, arguing for our limitations, holding on to our limitations. No. If you knew what went on, then you would know that I'm justified in my expectations now. Just clinging to the limitations, right? So what is proof but a thought that you continuously bring up to justify what you are trying to be or what you're declaring to be true right now? That's all proof is. It's pulling the past into the present to create a different future, or to create the same future. That's what it is. So even when we talk about things like proof, right? Well, what if it's proven? What if I have evidence on it? What if you do? What if you chose to see it a different way, though? Now, let me also take a step back, right? Because I ain't talking about everything now, right? I ain't talking about everything. But in this case, right, especially if we're talking about somebody being a liar or somebody just doing something unfavorable, and you've clung on to something they've done in the past, and now it's, right? I mean, this is a very human thing to say. This is something we all say. If this person does this, it's unforgivable. This is even why Scripture says what? Forgive your neighbor so your Father in heaven can forgive you. But if you do not forgive your neighbor, your Father in heaven cannot forgive you. It sounds harsh. What does it mean? What does it mean? If you are not able to see others ideally as you would like them to be, then your Father in heaven can't forgive you. What does that mean? It means that you cannot receive a better version of that person. That's what it means. If you do not forgive them completely and see them ideally as an aspect of you, as another incarnation of God, well, then they can't show up ideally for you. How do you balance that? I love this. Look at y'all with the challenger questions. I like this. How do you balance that with not being swept away in their quote unquote potential? We can look at this from both sides. We can look at this from a purely metaphysical sense. We can also look at this from a purely physical sense. Right? If I'm talking to you purely from a physical sense, right, I'm going to say, why are you accepting somebody based on potential? Why are you accepting somebody based on potential? Now, if I'm talking about it from a metaphysical sense, I would say the same thing, but in a different way. I would say, why are you accepting somebody who's not showing up exactly how you want or how you see them in your mind's eye showing up? Go to the end and stay there. That's what I would say. Go to the end and stay there. See them how you want them to be. And then don't accept anything else. Marry that version of them in your mind and don't accept anything less. Know that it must happen. But if I'm talking about it from a physical perspective, I say, why the hell are you being with somebody based off of potential? Right? Thank you. Separation. I appreciate it. I'm glad that I'm glad you get value out of those. Thank you. Let me see. Separation, not just race, ethnicity, etc., but moral separation. What do you mean? If I was talking about something, I was talking about separation. My bad, I forgot. Remind me what I was talking about. Separation, not just race, ethnicity, etc., but for moral separation. Not sure. But it does sound interesting, so I definitely wanna respond to it. Appreciate the challenge. From a pure metaphysical sense, I could look at potential as a desire. From a metaphysical sense, I could definitely look at potential as a desire, and then say go to the end and stay there. And if you don't receive what you want from that end, then why are you accepting it? Why are you accepting those breadcrumbs? Your point about the person is a liar, they're bad, but we're pushing out aspects of ourselves. Moral separation. Yeah, absolutely. We do separate on many levels. So, yes, there are absolutely different races and all those things and classes, right? But we absolutely push out all kinds of aspects of ourselves. The illusion of separation, it always starts mentally first, right? So, it's just why, you know what's really interesting? This is why where we were born and upbringing is so important. It's such a thing to pay attention to, right? Because everything changes based on your upbringing. You have different parents, you have a different upbringing, you have a different set of beliefs of the world, right? If you've grown up in certain environments, you might be used to certain things, and other things might be very, very difficult for you to stomach. They might be easier for you to stomach if you've seen other things. Right? So even our sense of morality, how we view the world, right? Our judgments of things, of people, of circumstances, it is always being scripted by what we go through when we are younger, right? And all of these things, all of this separation is cast out to us or cast out from us, and we start seeing things in that way. For instance, try to pay attention to the way that you distinguish people. Meaning, if I'm with somebody right now, I might refer to us as we and them as them. Or, in another situation, I might refer to me as I and them as them, right? We tend to kind of unnaturally or naturally, let's say, create separation in a whole lot of things. Even the way that we talk, the way that we relate to situations, right, is we do pit separation all the time. It's like a natural part of the ego. I'm not saying that some of it isn't or can't be considered or seen as constructive. It's just always very interesting to see where we draw those lines, right? In a disagreement with your partner, do you view the disagreement or do you view the situation as we versus the situation? Or do you see it as me versus him? Well, I said this and he said that. very interesting to pay attention to those types of things and see where that expectation or that separation, that illusion of separation has been cast out into your reality. Even if we talk about kind of family members and the one is a liar and all those things, we even gave this connotation, right? This connotation of me and the rest of my family, my family that doesn't lie, that is good, and him, right? This separation. So we always cast or create these illusions of separation. It's very, very interesting to see. Thank you. You know, green is the color of money, you know what I'm saying? So that's why. Yeah, suffer versus syndrome. But yeah, being more conscious of when you are calling, you know, groups us or we versus them. The us versus them thing is so interesting, especially start paying attention to it in relationships. Do you think of it as we in certain instances, and then in other instances think of it as me versus them, me versus her, her versus me? It can kind of show you where you are, you know, maybe running off some blind spots. It'll always be beneficial to see things as we, right? Yeah, we definitely see it in politics all the time, right? It's a constant us versus them thing. Even, you know, even in elected affairs, it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Agreed. I feel like going to Gloria's and give me a damn margarita, man. Fucking Sunday margarita. It ain't nothing like a Sunday margarita. Nah. Oh, the one in Rockwall is fire. The one on that water in Rockwall. I used to ride my bike out there and go to that one. I used to ride my bike out of but nah, this one right down the street. If I do the one down the street, you know what I'm saying, I get 3 of them things and then come back. What do you think of us versus us? Us versus us. I mean, I guess it's, you know, linguistics is very specific to that individual. So if you believe that if you believe that feels more inclusive, then sure, go ahead and use that, right? So I wouldn't make a judgment on what's right and wrong, right? Because right and wrong is so relative. But it's very interesting just to pay attention to it and see how you define circumstances as us and them and he and we. See if there is a psychological, if anything comes up in your mind that gives more separation or adds more animosity in that. So whether that's right or wrong, can't tell you. But it's definitely something just to pay attention to have a better knowledge of yourself, how you handle energy, right? It's helped me through a lot of, you know, difficult conversations is to reframe the situation as us versus some issue. It helps a lot. Okay, and then how do I clear my energy in my personal practice? I simply release that energy, right, via meditation. And then I take a lot of different approaches to it, right? Even if I'm showering, right, I have the approach that I'm clearing energy, right? But also I'm very conscious as I walk through the day that my energy is not really leaking. I don't really have leaky energy. My sexual energy is not leaking. My life force in general is not leaking, right? So I don't give my energy to a lot of things. I don't take a lot of things personal. I understand everything's working out for your boy, so, you know. So that's really how I keep my energy to myself. It's just through awareness, through consciousness, right? I could be reacting to all kinds of things and, you know, making things false idols and judging this thing as right and saying that this thing has control over my thoughts now, and I'm just outsourcing my power, giving my power to all that. Well, if this was different, if that was different, if she was different. But I think that I take a more proactive approach to cleansing my energy, right? Staying aware throughout the day and understanding that the only thing that has power over me is what I consent to have power over me. And I don't consent for shit to have power over me. So I would say, from my personal perspective, from kind of the discussions we've had, that life is a path of self only, yes. Life is a path of self first. Because as within, so without, right? Which is even a concession, right? There's only you. There is no out there. Everything is an externalized aspect of you. So if I want to have the life that I want, if I want to have fulfilling relationships with others, I need to have a fulfilling relationship with myself. I have to know myself as source, know myself as a divine, know myself as the creator of all of this. Therefore, all my relationships can follow. All of the situations of my life can follow. So yes, it's a path of only self in that sense. Now, is it a path of only self in the sense of I shouldn't be with anybody? I personally don't believe anybody needs to be with anybody, but it can make for a more fulfilling life thinking like that, right? But absolutely, life is a path of self first. You have to be selfish. You have to put yourself first, not in an egotistical way, but if I don't, I can't even have in my external reality what I do not give to myself. I can't have love out there without knowing myself as pure love, pure divinity. I can't have prosperity without knowing that I am God, I am source. Therefore, all aspects of source must flow into my life, right? It's going to be very difficult for me to do that. For me to have a divine relationship with this goddess if I don't have a divine relationship with myself, right? If I can't give intimacy to myself, if I can't receive love from myself, how can I receive love or intimacy from someone else? So yes, everything starts with self, but is it a path of self only? A path of self only? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe anybody needs anyone, but you get old, you don't want to. Maybe one day you need somebody to wipe your ass, right? Nah, but companionship is good as well. Right? And also, relationships can be divine. They are divine mirrors. We've had lots of lectures lots of discussions on relationships. And the interesting thing is, even when we talk about that path of self, it's not that we want someone to complete us, right? You are an eternal, infinite being. Nobody can complete you. You're already complete. But we want somebody who reflects that divine mirror to us and who reminds us that we are God. Somebody that holds you to a high standard of yourself. Somebody that says, I will not tolerate you dimming your light around anybody, damn sure not around me, right? That's on a soul level. Relationships feel so fulfilling because you have that divine mirror showing you that you are God and also showing you that you are limitless. Who can challenge you? Who can pull you up? Who can push you the same way that a romantic partner can? Right? Nobody. Right? They're going to know you better than anyone else. But at the same time, they'll never know you as well as you know yourself, which also makes for another interesting conversation right there. It's because we seek this partner that can sit down with us through the fire. And no matter what's going on, they can be present and aware and conscious and want to work it out with us. But how many people are able to do that with themselves? Or how many people are able to sit down for an hour by themselves without picking up the phone and texting because they feel bored, without turning on the TV, without randomly walking to the fridge and opening up the food because they're addicted, or opening up the fridge because they're addicted to the processed food, right? How many people can actually sit in the discomfort of their own emotions and pierce through it? But then we expect somebody else to walk in our life and do that for us, right? Just think about that. How many people, when things are rough, when your emotions are all over the place, can sit down in stillness and give themselves intimacy, can provide themselves love and presence for their own emotions, but we want someone else to do it for us. When we're sitting in an uncomfortable conversation with them, we want them to sit in the presence, right? So if you have two people that can't even do that for themselves, well, god damn, it's gonna be it's gonna be difficult for them to do that shit for one another, right? Very, very difficult. Appreciate you. Yeah, 5P, the For You page been cooking lately, so I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here. But this is another aspect of that as within, so without. You can only, the depth of your intimacy with others can only ever match the depth of your intimacy with self. There's no way around that, right? You know, if I'm someone who runs from my own emotions, who's always chasing, a happy feeling, I can't sit in the stillness with myself. I have to be happy. I have to be happy. I got to put me first, right? If I'm somebody like that, well, shit, I'm going to be the type of person who runs from a relationship. I was going to say I'm probably going to, but I'm just going to make an absolute statement. I am going to be somebody who runs from that intimacy with others. I'm going to be. I am absolutely going to be. It just is what it is. We can only meet others to the depths that we've met ourselves. How can a person who has not touched the depths of themselves get deep with anyone else? If you're not a deep thinker in general, how can you be deep with someone else? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you're shallow with yourself, you will be shallow with others. Point blank period. If you can't hold intimacy for yourself, if you can't meet yourself, meet your desires, and feel them through you, how can you meet someone else's desires and feel them through them? Right? It's always as within, so without. Always. Always, always, always. Yeah, and then for sure, relationships are where you grow, right? Because relationships are going to help you grow because of that mirror aspect of it, right? They're going to help you grow in multiple ways. First off, you should be with somebody who doesn't want you to settle for anything. You should be with somebody who does push you and call you to a better version of yourself and say, you should have handled this better. You can be better. You are better, right? But also because of the nature of humanity, right? You're only experiencing one perspective of the infiniteness of yourself at a time. So you're going to be constantly changing. I'm going to meet somebody. Let's say I meet somebody today and we get married and we're together for 30 years. I'll be different every day. I'm a different person. We're all growing, right? We have the relationship, we're growing with one another. We're in partnership, right? We're growing together. And then as a man, I'm growing on my own through my own endeavors. As a woman, she's growing on her own through her own endeavors. So we're constantly trying to meet each other, meet this new version of each other, challenge each other, push each other, right? So there's growth on all these different fronts. This is really a very divine thing, is the ability for two people to put in that work and move forward. This is why, even going into the next topic, I'll always say that, the divine connection comes on the back end. We've talked about what soulmates and twin flames are from a very metaphysical, spiritual sense. But when you come down here, you don't have a radar gun that you can point to somebody's head and say, oh shit, you're my soulmate, right? These are a lot of assumptions we make. But keep in mind, once you get to a certain level of self-understanding and you love and you like someone enough, we do overcomplicate relationships. If I like someone enough, they like me enough, I know myself enough, we can make it work. We can make it work. We can make it work, right? That point blank period. So when it comes to the divine union, most of that is on the back end. It doesn't matter who I meet, how much chemistry we have up front, we're going to be different people. Doesn't matter how much work I've done, right? We'll have different beliefs, different ways of handling things, different life experiences, two completely different souls, right? So with that being said, if we're willing to meet each other throughout the situation, one situation at a time, right? Meaning, matter of fact, let's take a step back. Let's dive into this, okay? So if I'm willing to meet somebody, what does meeting somebody mean? It means we often think that the connection comes through the chemicals and the sparks. You're just having a addictive reaction to this person. That's what you're actually having, right? An addictive. I love those questions. Let's get to them. All right. So in the beginning, what you're really having is you're having a blissful chemical reaction within your brain. That's what you're actually having. Y'all are addicted to chemicals. Y'all are like addicts to one another. Is that where real chemistry goes? Is that where real chemistry grows, right? No. If you're not able to transmute your pain, transmute your disagreements into a greater level of connection, the relationship's going to die. You're gonna fall off. You're gonna fall off flat. So if I'm not able to transmute my own negative emotions, quote unquote negative emotions, the things I don't like, into a greater sense of understanding, a greater sense of connection to myself, what the hell makes me think I'm gonna do this with somebody else? What the hell makes me think that, right? So even when you have let's say that you have a negative feeling within you from whatever, the first step is you have to be present, right? What is this situation trying to tell me about myself? Now, let's say that you're in a situation with somebody else. There's a disagreement. You do something, they do something. You have two roles. The person who brings the problem, they have an obligation. They have an obligation to set the stage. It's me and you versus this problem. I want this problem to bring us into a deeper level of understanding one another and connection. Cool. You have an obligation. Who's receiving it also has an obligation. It's me and you versus the problem, and I have to sit in my discomfort of a person that I love calling me out for something that I might not even believe was my intention. Without the first response being like, God damn, I didn't intend to do that shit. And this takes skill. This takes skill and this takes patience for somebody to come up to you and tell you that you hurt them in a certain way. And for you to care about them and care about the situation enough for you to sit in that and help them get through it. Even though you ain't intend to do that shit. I'm not saying to let somebody verbally abuse you, slap you around, right? Let's be real here. But if this person cares about you, it does take some strength to do that. So it takes strength on both sides. I know that this person loved me, but this happened. I didn't like it. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to bring it to them this way. Right? And then on the other end, I know this person loves me, and so whatever happened hurt them. Now I could think this, God damn, this, why the hell are they bringing me this shit? You know me better than that, but I have to sit in that discomfort and take it. And it's through that situation it's through that situation that you actually build more connection. And when you start doing this, right, because you do want to be the most skilled person with your partner. You want to know them the best, be able to disarm them emotionally the best, be able to calm them down the best, be able to turn them on the best, be able to get through disagreements the best. How are you going to do this? By learning through each of these situations. How are you going to learn them if you don't go through all those situations? So when you eventually go through those things for months, for years, you get to this point where you're like, damn, this is my soulmate. I could not be with anybody else. Why would I want to be with anybody else? Why would I want to be with anybody else, right? And so once you get to that point, it's like other people look at it and say, my God, I want that. That's my goal. And you can look at that person and say, shit, yeah, it took work, but we are here. You're right. I wouldn't ask for anything else either. But to think that you're going to walk into, to it with somebody and the day one it'll be like that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but is it practical with the way that everybody is raised differently? No. But you can make it work with anybody. If you love them enough to sit in that. If they love you enough to sit in that, then y'all can make it work. Point blank period. And what if you loved each other, but every time you brought it up, they shut down, so you stop? I would ask you from both perspectives, from a physical and a metaphysical sense, why are you settling for less? Why are you settling for less? Right? From a physical perspective, why are you settling for less? From a metaphysical perspective, why are you settling for lesser version? But when it comes down to it, if two people aren't willing to sit in that discomfort with one another, how can it grow? How can it grow? You tell me. If we can't get through disagreements, all right, let's put it in a different way. Let's say that someone does a small thing that annoys you today. Little thing that annoys you. You don't bring it up. It bothers you. Then they do it again 5 days later. You didn't bring it up the first time. This time you're like, damn, they did it again. You're like, okay, well, I can just deal with it. That's fine. But it bothers you a little bit more. Then the third time, and the fourth time, and the fifth time, and the sixth time. It'll get to a point where it's so difficult to handle those little situations that you can barely handle the good times anymore. Because that shit is so heavy on your mind. So I would ask the question, what should you do? I would pose the question to you, so what should you do? You loved each other, but every time you brought something up, they shut down, so you stopped bringing it up. What should you do? My thoughts on a partner bringing up past things when I'm bringing up something that happens currently. To me, that shows a low sense of emotional intelligence right there. If you're bringing up something to me, it is my obligation to handle this situation that is brought up right now. You have the floor. If I bring up something new, I expect the same courtesy. Now, sometimes that can be used as a cop-out, right? Well, you did this. What about this? But that's also showing that I'm not really trying to build chemistry or build the relationship. I'm just trying to get out this situation. I'm just trying to go tit for tat. I'm making this a conversation or competition. This goes back to what we were talking about versus when we talk about separation. The illusion of separation. Do I see this as me versus this person or us versus the issue? It's always interesting to see how we start thinking of things. And I can guarantee you, if I'm trying to bring up something, I'm saying, well, what about this? Highly likely that I'm thinking it's me versus you instead of us versus the situation. So from my end, what I would do is reframe it. Look. Okay, we can talk about that. But I want you to understand, I'm not doing this to make it a competition. I'm doing this because this bothered me. And I want you to know that it's me and you versus this issue. I want this issue to help us learn how to treat each other better. Otherwise, you got to just set that. And if somebody still can't get it, well, why are you settling for less? Physically, in the physical third dimensional perspective, why are you settling for less? And in the metaphysical perspective, why are you settling for less than the ideal version of them that you want? And if we're changing every day or other days, is it possible to have a blissful long-term relationship? Absolutely. It's absolutely. Because you're going to constantly be meeting each other, constantly be invested in each other's life. Think about it, it's not like you're going to change so drastically. You're not going to know each other the next day, but you will be changing and building with one another. This is the beauty of relationship. Otherwise, y'all would just be the same person that you are today 30 years from now and be doing the same shit and be bored. And where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in that? And then for the what if you separate, and do I believe that people can come back? And is that a good thing for yourself? All of these things, all of those questions are going to be very personal to you, right? You know what is interesting is that, first of all, I love all of y'all, okay? Just to put that out there, I love all of y'all. We all in this together. We talk about manifesting a lot, reality creation a lot. Maybe I don't say this enough, but the things that y'all are wanting to get, are you desiring them from lack or from love? Meaning, right? am I trying to make excuses for why it's not working and needing it to be a certain way to feel better? Or have I come into the truth that it's already mine and I'm just allowing it to unfold? Because if I don't come into that truth that it's already mine and I'm allowing it to unfold, then I can stay in the end. But then when I have conversations like this, my mind will start wandering and I'm adding limitations. You have to choose a side. You have it, or you're going to ask all these questions on whether it's right or wrong. You can't be on both sides. So keep in mind, when I'm speaking about these relationship things, I'm trying not to speak of them from a very limiting belief or a limiting view. These are just tools to help you when you are in that divine partnership. But don't allow these things to start. This is the same as seeing external situations, external circumstances, that all of a sudden starting to question if you're going to get what you want based on what you're seeing out there. Choose one. You either have it or you don't have it. Which one? You have it or you don't have it. Get in the end. Go to the end and stay there. Go to the end and stay there. You don't come out of that room until you have it. Yeah, for sure. It takes two, right? No man can drag another man to salvation. So too in relationships. No one person can drag the other person into a fulfilling relationship. It takes two. It takes two. It takes two. Don't allow what I just said to limit you if we're talking about it from a manifesting perspective. You already know it takes two. You already have it, and both of you want it. Okay? You already have it, and both of you want it. But it takes two, right? It takes two. It takes two. Right? I can't drag the version of somebody who does not want to be with me. I can't bribe you into being with me with being nice and giving you things and giving you attention and affection and trying to talk through the bullshit. I mean, come on. We can't do that. Let's see. Damn. Damn. Okay. Because, that's why I always say, bro, the divine companionship, it comes on the back end, right? It comes after two people are actually willing to pour into one another. If two people are not willing to pour into one another, I mean, what are we doing? Right? Young women believe their intellect makes them right 100% of the time. I was one. And we can speak for both genders, right? Both genders believe that our intellect makes us right 100% of the time. So it's a part of a successful relationship is humility. And it's also picking battles. Let's talk about this. This is actually an interesting conversation. Let's talk about humility a little bit. Let's say, because we typically think of a relationship as, a man will solely lead the relationship. Is that necessarily true? Who knows? There are going to be certain times in a relationship where both partners have to lead. Now, where does humility come into place? Is everything worth an argument? Is everything worth correction? Let's give an example. Let's say we about to go on a vacation. You and your woman about to go on a vacation. All right, ladies, listen up. Listen up to this. Let's say you and your partner are gonna go on vacation. So your man comes up to you and he's like, all right, we're leaving in 2 days. Tomorrow, this is what we're actually gonna do. Tomorrow we are going to, go eat, and then we're gonna, go out and eat lunch. And then we are gonna go do some last minute shopping on the things that we want. And then we're gonna come home, and then we're gonna pack, and then we're gonna travel out the next day. And in your mind, you're like, why the hell would we go eat first when we could actually go finish the shopping first, and then we could go eat, and then, or we can go shopping first, then we could pack, and then we can go eat without worrying about anything? I would ask you, is that worth it? Is that worth it? Is that worth it? Is that worth the argument? There are certain things that we have to say, you know what the fuck ever. Sure, I might disagree with the steps, but we're gonna have the same things done. I can allow this person to step into leadership. I can just follow the plan. At the end of the day, y'all still gonna go out. Y'all gonna go get all your stuff. You're gonna go come home and pack. You're gonna flirt. You're gonna have a glass of wine. He's gonna knock your weave off behind the headboard. Either way, it's all unfolding perfectly. Either way. And then you're gonna have a good time. Unless you would rather argue about it right then. Then you could change up the plans. And then let's say you change up the plans and then something goes wrong. Now all of a sudden you'll have something else to argue about. You see how certain things just turn into a cascading cycle of nothingness. just cascading into more arguments for no reason. Now you go to sleep upset. You didn't get your wig knocked off. He didn't put that vibrator on you, right? And so now you go grumpy to the airport in the morning. Let's say you run a little bit late, the Uber's late. Now you're arguing about nothing again. You see how one little decision to not just let something go can cascade. It could be a trickle effect into a whole bunch of bullshit. We have to have the wisdom and the humility to sometimes say, okay, cool. It would be the same way that maybe I had plans. Maybe I had plans on how we should do stuff the next day. And I just told my woman, oh, look, maybe we can go out to eat tomorrow, because we always go out to eat on a certain day. Let's say we could do that. And then we still have to get some more things. And she's like, okay. And so in my mind, I had the plan. In my mind, I had it all planned out. But she comes up to me before and she's like, hey, look, this is what we should do. We should go get the stuff and then we can eat later. In my mind, I say, you know what? I actually wanted to do it differently. Is it worth it? Is that shit worth it? In this case, I would not say it. I would not believe it's worth it. So I will let it go. We will do things in that order. Don't give a damn. And then we'll get home. We'll have a good night. We'll get on a plane. We'll have a good trip. We have to understand how to choose our battles. What is actually worth it? What is worth an argument? What you'll start seeing is there are a lot of things that aren't worth arguments. And also, leadership is built on trust. Trust is built over time. Now, when you start allowing people to make little decisions and show you their planning and these things like, planning the trip, the day before the trip, what to do, now you can actually get to a point where you trust them more when it comes to where do we put our retirement funds so that if the market crashes, we're not broke as a motherfucker. So when we start enabling our partners to actually lead in certain areas without questioning everything, without picking petty arguments, now they can step into a fuller version of themselves. And because they've done all those things, now you trust them more. Now they trust their own voice more, right? Because everybody is learning. When we think of leadership, we think somebody's going to walk in being a perfect leader, think through history. Name one perfect leader that didn't do anything that was ever disagreed with. Name one person throughout history who every idea he had, no one ever disagreed with it. Impossible. You'll never find it. Yet we think that leadership means this absolute perfection. And when we think perfection, we think, this is what we think when we think perfection. Everything that I believe they should do, that's what they'll do. That is our concept of leadership. Do you understand how insane that is? We understand how insane that is. Okay. So we have to allow people to do what they do and pick and choose. Which part? What is worth this argument? And then even when I'm bringing things up, how am I bringing things up? We understand we're very sensitive to our partners, the people that we love. So even those little mini microaggressions, right? A slight smack of the lips, a slight roll of the eyes. Are you sensitive enough to when your partner is bringing a problem to you? Are you sensitive enough to put the phone down and look at them in their face and be present with them? Or are they telling you something difficult and you're... Which one are you? Are you mindful of these things? And when you become mindful of these things, you can get somebody who's mindful of those things to you. All right? So, a little side note. Yeah, for sure. Guilty of expecting mind reading, right? I thought it, why don't you know it? I thought the shit, how come you didn't do it? You should have known. You should have just known. The hell do you mean I should have just known? The hell are you talking about? I should have just known, right? So it's very, very interesting when we start looking at these dynamics, like how things are unfolding, right? And what's up? The FYP page been cooking, or the FY page, it's been cooking lately. The eyes never lie, Chico. Yeah, some things just don't matter within the trajectory of the relationship, right? Some things are just irrelevant. And this also, another half of this, so another part of this is also those little things that you let slide that bother you, right? So it's a difference between picking and choosing, is this worth an argument? Versus something that annoys you and you constantly let it slide until you explode. And you blow up. Right? So we also have to be wise enough to know ourselves and know the difference between those things. Okay. Right. Absolutely. Never be with somebody who is not open enough and vulnerable enough to apologize, right? Because that is what the relationship is at its core, is that it's two people learning each other through a long period of time, right? Is any of us here the same person that we were 5 years ago? No, none of us are. So to expect that we'll be the same person or our partner will be the same person in 5 years, it is, you know. So we're going to be constantly in this state of learning one another. All right, y'all. Your boy's about to jump off and have a couple of drinks, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all, as always, right? I appreciate y'all for joining. I appreciate the questions, the pushback. I appreciate all the conversation in general, right? We're all in this together. I see you all as prosperous, as perfect, as divine, as in absolute harmony with what you want. If you don't feel that way, it's cool, because I see you as that way anyway, so I know it must be true. Okay. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I might jump on here again tonight, you know what I'm saying, depending. But if not, we'll talk again, God willing. All right, appreciate y'all.